Microphone. There we go. Okay, Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, I can hear you. You can go on mute. Take yourself off mute at any point. Just ask a question and I can hear you, so I should be able to field that no problem. I've hit the record button, so this class is going to be available after tonight. I'll post it to our YouTube channel. So if anybody in the room should ever have resumed this class throughout the semester, what we cover in class will be available to you. You should be able to log in via Zoom for any class. I'm going to try to get it up.
Mr. Cushionberry
Yeah,
or Vern?
you having a hard time hearing me?
Yeah, we can't hear you. I can't hear you very well.
I probably need to be up here around the microphone then. Okay.
That's
Is
better.
that better when I'm up here?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, well, that's going to be challenging then. When we're over in the Heritage Hall, I get great audio pickup, but not so much in this room. So I'll try to stay up towards the front of the class. I was getting ready to give everybody in the room the disclaimer about Zoom meetings being a little hit or miss. So I can't promise you're going to get the material if you log into Zoom, but I'll try my best. Last year, we were over in 213. I don't think I got any of them recorded. But the nice part about the way I've been doing this for 10 years now. So most of these lectures are recorded from last semester or the year before. Plenty to choose from. The material has changed very little in the last 10 years. There's a few updates from the Financial Accounting Standards Board that have been integrated in this latest edition of the text. I'll point those out as we go. But yeah. So I try to make it as convenient as I possibly can for everybody in the room. Are we in the right room? Financial statement analysis. All right, terrific. So tonight, my goal is to go over the syllabus, tell everybody a little bit about myself, answer questions. I want to give you the inside scoop, so to speak, on how to approach this class. I'll try to share some strategies that have worked well in prior semesters. I feel like I about have it figured out. I haven't had to curve any of the grades in 3 years now, so I've eliminated what doesn't work and left what does work. Which one of the things that did not work was a comprehensive final exam. So we don't do that anymore. So you all are benefiting from the grief of prior semesters. So it helps me out while we get going. If I can hear a little bit from everybody in the room, it's financial statement analysis, which is a huge subject matter. You're all in here either as an accounting elective or finance major. This is a blended class, meaning that we have finance 419 together with finance 5561. So we have an undergraduate class and a graduate class in the same room. So you all might be interested in how those grades get tabulated at the end of the day when we have undergrad and master's students together. What I will do is design the course curriculum pretty much the same, but then I keep track of the grades from the two classes. And if I do need to curve, I'll assess it that way. So the grading rubric takes that into account, but the material is the same for the most part. And I think the 419 students will benefit from the master students in the same room. At least that's been my experience in prior semesters. So who's willing to share why they, how they found themselves in here? Is this an elective for you all, or is this part of your career path? And anybody willing to share what specifically they'd like to get out of this class? We have 16 weeks together and I can tailor it to hit a lot of different topics. How many, show of hands, for how many of you is this an elective? Okay, so just a couple. So everybody else, this is part of your core curriculum, so something you'd have to take. Okay, well, kudos to those of you who chose this as an elective. You're in here voluntarily, so everybody else is just going to plow through because they have to be here, and that's fine. We call that the Vern Cushionberry strategy. Fun fact: I flunked this course twice when I was in undergrad because my attentions were just elsewhere. And when I got my, when I finally got my act together, I passed it and went on to take the master's curriculum from UMKC. I'm a UMKC grad, circa 2002. I got my master's from UMKC, and then again in 2004, I got my master's in accountancy. Went on to get a CPA, so I'm a certified public accountant, and I also have a CFA on my resume, so I'm a chartered financial analyst, and it's really the intersection of those two designations that we're going to be focusing on in this class for the next 16 weeks. So in my career, I used those two designations to work myself into a job as a portfolio manager. I was with the Buffalo Funds here in town for a while before I started my own shop in 2007, which was great. I mean, not very many of you in this room were probably in the finance industry or even close to it in 2007, but that was a great time to take all your friends and family through the worst market of in the last 50 years. But we made it, and here we are nearly 20 years later, and we've amassed about $4 billion in investor capital that we manage on behalf of individuals and companies and retirement plans and private institutions. So anything you want to know about the world of investment management, I can probably illuminate for you, and I'm happy to help you all network in that career vein if that's of any interest at all. So that's a little bit about me. As you can tell, this is not my day job. I do this as a hobby, and every semester it rolls around and I ask myself, why am I still doing this? I don't feel like driving down to UMKC tonight in 16-degree weather and lecturing, but I always get here and it turns out to be a pretty good use of my time. I do genuinely enjoy it, but it's kind of like going to the gym. I don't always feel like doing it, but after I go, I'm always glad I went. So thank you for that. Here's the pro and the con of dealing with somebody like me. Because I have a real job overseeing $4 billion in capital on behalf of 200 to 300 clients, you all are on the bottom of my priority list. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. This is my hobby. I enjoy it. The upside of having me up here lecturing is that my genuine hope is that I can share some real world examples that will benefit people. And at the end of the semester, I hope to be able to help you all network so you can find jobs or achieve whatever it is that your desired outcome is coming out of this course. And I have cherry-picked a few students to serve as interns and to recommend other advisors here in town. So you know, there's that aspect is one of the pros of having somebody in real practice up here lecturing. But I can be a little bit difficult to get a hold of. We're going to go through the syllabus tonight. I have my cell phone on my syllabus. So my promise to you is, yes, I'm difficult to get a hold of, but no, I will never be annoyed or offended or frustrated when you ping me once and don't get an answer, and then ping me again and don't get an answer, and ping me a third time, and I finally get back to you. Also know that I'm not very type A when it comes to this class. So the syllabus has due dates for everything that we'll be covering this semester. I'm not going to count off any points if you get it to me late. So that pretty much applies to the whole semester. I have this class set up where most of our assignments are graded automatically by the software that comes with the course curriculum, and that has worked very, very well for me. And it's worked very, very well for the students because I've purposely selected this book because it comes with a cadre of learning exercises and online curriculum and guided tutorials, and there are lectures to supplement every learning objective that we're going to be covering in this class. So if you don't get it when I lecture on it in class, there's a supplement that comes with the book, and that helps me out from a grading standpoint, which means I can put off most of the grading until the end of the semester. So there'll be a lot of questions about that, and I encourage them because we'll need to touch on it 3 or 4 times before everybody gets it. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I'm not talking. Will Zoom be live for 7?
I'm gonna try to make it live for the sessions. I already found out that if I'm more than a yard or two behind this desk, then the audio doesn't pick up very well. So that's a little frustrating. I'm gonna try to solve that audio problem so I think the best when I walk around a little bit, so I need that. But I'm gonna try to get the Zooms live, and all of these lectures will be recorded and posted to our YouTube site. Yep. Okay, a little bit about me. I left a bunch out, but ask me whatever you want. Any questions about me? Any concerns about the class? Nobody knows why they're here. Okay, great. All right, we're gonna start with the syllabus then. Okay, so I came out to our Canvas site. Anybody have any trouble logging on to that Canvas site yet? Okay, oh, syllabus is out there. I expect that's gonna be very much like every other class you've taken at the block school. Okay. Pretty standard course. We're in here from January to May. There's no comprehensive final. I reserved the last 3 weeks of the class so that we can all focus on a semester-long research project, which is basically a stock research report. If you've taken investments with Dr. Mock, you've covered a lot of this. We're going to spend the first 10 weeks of the class on the accounting side of financial statement analysis. We're going to go through 10 modules, look at all the financial statements, do a little bit of work with ratios, and then take a deep dive into some of the accounting that can be messed with. There's a lot of shenanigans that go on in the world of corporate finance. I don't teach ethics. I teach shenanigans. So I'm giving you this information. When you're out in the real world, do with it what you may. If you're, we will play this little game that I call follow the penny. The first assignment that we're going to do in this class requires you all to select the company that you want to do research on this semester. In the syllabus, I'm going to show you here in a minute, there's a link to the list of companies that you get to choose from. Can't go off the list. I selected the list because all of these companies are conducive to financial statement analysis. To do good financial statement analysis, you really need to be able to do work across time. So these companies have a good history of earnings, and they have a good peer group to reference against, and it's conducive to our research project. So you're going to take your pick from amongst those companies, and the first thing that you're going to do is go back out to Canvas. There's a discussion forum on our Canvas site. It's called the Company Selection Forum. And you're going to say, my name's Vern and I pick McDonald's. Great, you just claimed your company. Nobody else can do work on McDonald's. I need all these research projects to be unique so that nobody is teaming up. So some of you are ahead of me. I can see you've already clicked on the link. Go out, select the company you want to do research on, go back to Canvas, claim your company. Be sure to look up in the company selection forum to make sure nobody's already picked the one you want to do work on. Okay, I started telling that story, getting a little ahead of myself because I like to play a game of what I call follow the penny. The first project we're going to do work on is an analysis of the proxy statement. Show of hands, how many of us have ever looked at a proxy statement? Okay, so a handful of us. What's in the proxy statement? Remember? Okay, the most interesting thing that I find in the proxy statement is a table that shows what the executive management team and the board of directors gets paid. So if ever you meet someone that works for a publicly traded company that is in the C-suite and you want to find out how much money they make, just look at the proxy statement. Not only that, you're going to be able to track down their incentive-based compensation. And incentive-based comp is a huge part of every proxy statement and the majority of what your executive teams are going to earn. Your job for the first assignment is in this class is to go look at the proxy statement for the company of your choice, find out how your management team gets paid, and specifically what their incentive-based compensation is comprised of and linked to. Now, most of the time, you're going to see some options package, incentive-based comp, restricted stock units, some equity-based type of participation associated with these comp plans. And it's going to be linked to the performance of the stock, earnings per share, return on invested capital, gross profit margins. That's what I mean when I say find out what it's linked to, because these incentive-based compensation programs are designed so that when the company does well, the management teams do well. But what does it mean for the company to do well? They define that by linking it to some of these ratios. Okay, why do I want you to know what the management team's stock package is linked to? Because we're going to play this little game of follow the penny. I don't give you all this information because because I teach ethics. I give you this information because I want you to have the knowledge to recognize when a management team might be manipulating the accounting in a way to get themselves paid. Conversely, if you are the management team, you need to know how to manipulate the accounting to get yourself paid. And we're going to look at probably 24 different examples of estimates and other opportunities or other places in the world of accounting where management team has a big influence on what ultimately prints on the bottom line of your income statement. On that earnings per share number, well, what does earnings mean? Are we using LIFO accounting? Are we using FIFO accounting? Does management have any discretion over that? Are we accounting for operating leases? Are we accounting for capital leases? Or are we using different estimates associated with international accounting? Are we translating balance sheets from euros to yuan to dollars? And how often are we doing this? And are we restating the accounting in a certain period that's going to cause earnings per share to go up by a penny, following the penny? And when that happens, does that also happen to coincide? You'd be amazing how many times the answer to this question is yes. Does that also happen to coincide with the vesting of a management team's stock options packages? Yes, yes, and yes. So if you know that, you can get a lot of insights into just the world of corporate finance, and I think it makes it a heck of a lot more interesting to follow. All right, so Zoom meeting, Zoom ID, YouTube site. Go out to our YouTube site, you'll find all my prior lectures. You're also going to find some other YouTube videos out there that are basically tutorials. There's a tutorial out there teaching you all how to use the bibliography feature associated with Microsoft Word. More on that later in the semester. There's a tutorial on there teaching you all how to use some of the research tools available through UMKC and the Miller-Nichols Library. One of the primary research tools that we will use in this class is FactSet. Anybody been on FactSet? Show hands. So, okay, a few of us. That's good. Hopefully we can help each other out and teach each other how to get more out of that. Instructor information, just call me Vern. I'm pretty informal. There's my contact information, cell phone, course description. We approach this class from the viewpoint of a portfolio manager because that's my background. Financial statement analysis is obviously useful for corporate M&A, corporate finance, banking institutions, credit institutions. The same skill set is applied by a lot of different industries. I just typically think like a portfolio manager because that's what I do in my day job. So you'll hear me communicate and in that terminology. Course objectives, all the usual suspects, critical thinking skills, awareness of ethics, communication, entrepreneurship, so on and so forth. Let's talk a little bit about the book associated with this class. In the syllabus, there is an embedded student handout, and that's not working. So I'll email that out to everybody. But if you click on that link, it's going to take you out here to our course shell. This is a mybusinesscourses.com shell. you can enroll, watch the video on how to get booted up. And once you are enrolled, you will have access to this site, which is our class. And I'll give you a quick tour of our class here. You have there's the first module. If I have time, I'm going to lecture on this a little bit tonight, but it's 100% review. So oftentimes I leave this module to your off time. You can cover this without me. It's a review of basic level accounting, including the financial statements, and then competitive analysis like SWOT, Porter's Five Forces, the value chain. It's all review, which is really very complimentary with the first lecture. The first assignment out here is worth 10 points. It's homework module 1. You'll just click on that after you've had time to familiarize yourself a little bit with the materials. And then you come out here and you're going to have 3 or 4 multiple choice questions and/or problems. So this first problem is asking you about financial ratios and credit ratios. So we have total debt given, EBITDA, free cash flow, and interest expense. And the problem is asking you to calculate a debt to EBITDA ratio. So the numerator, denominator, and result. Should be pretty easy stuff. The homework should be available points. And when I say available points, what I mean is there's no reason why you shouldn't get 100% of the points available in the homework project assignments, because you can take these as many times as you want. Take the homework, you get a 60%, take it again. You get a 70%, take it again. You get 100%. If you're sometimes, and this hasn't happened in a while because the authors are getting pretty good with their course errata and making changes and fixing errors. But sometimes you'll find rounding errors. And my advice to all the students is if you find a rounding error, or you're just on your 3rd or 4th iteration of a homework problem and you can't seem to figure out what you're doing wrong, just dog ear it, bring it to class. I'll check it out. We'll get you the credit. So please don't spend an hour in frustration because you can't figure out something that might be due to a rounding error or something like that. And remind me, I want to finish this syllabus, but then we're going to do a tour of the Canvas site. And one of the things I've done, and this has worked out very, very well, is I have posted the answers to all of the homework associated with this textbook inside of our Canvas course shell. It's a huge document. There's probably thousands of homework questions to choose from. But if you get stuck on something, that's an available resource. So you get stuck on a homework project, homework question, I can't figure it out. You go to the solutions manual in Canvas. I'll show you where that is. You got to do a little bit of a control find to figure out where the question is, but it's going to be in there. It's going to have the question. It's going to have the answers. They're not identical because the authors are smart enough to make most of these questions dynamic, but it's similar enough that it should give you the insights you need to walk through and match the numerator to numerator, denominator to denominator, and have that aha moment that leads most students to the place where they recognize what they did wrong and they can move on. Okay, part of tonight's homework is to select, analyze, and present a company. This is the link that I was referring to. I want you to come out here to this website and select from amongst the list of dividend aristocrats. So this is an exchange traded fund that owns only dividend aristocrats. And if you scroll down, you can see how the group of dividend aristocrats has done in total. And towards the lower end of you can see the holdings. Come out here, say show all holdings. So here's the companies that you have to choose from. Cardinal Health, Walmart, Chevron, IBM, ADP, Cincinnati Financial, a lot of familiar names. The list of dividend aristocrats is the list of only those companies that have paid and steadily increased their dividend over the last 30 years. So you get a lot of blue chip companies that you'll recognize here. Select from amongst this list. Okay, let's talk a little bit about our grading. That homework is worth 200 points. And again, you can take those homework modules over and over and over again. Get those 200 points. They're available to you. At the end of the semester, I mean, what is a grade? You know, the system that we have, which is to assign a grade on your efforts over the course of the next 16 months, is nothing more than a very rough approximation for what it is that we're truly trying to measure, which is your grasp and conceptualization of the subject matter at hand. So when we get to the end of the semester, I know this is just a rough approximation of that, which means that we can fudge it one way or another. So when I'm trying to be fair, and there's some question about whether an 89.5 should be rounded up or down, well, the first thing I'm going to do is look at effort. And, you know, the best approximation for me of effort is how many of those homework points did you get right? Because you have the opportunity to take that as many times as you want to take it, well, and you have all 200 points, that communicates to me that you were pretty serious about this class. You get 200 out of the 200 homework points. That affords me a little bit of grace, latitude when I'm assigning the final grade, because there's always some instances that could go either way, and I try to remember that. Now, if you're in an 89 and you have 150 out of 200 possible homework points, well, I'm not going to be very merciful, because my thought process is there's 50 points you could have just gone and gotten for yourself. You must be pretty happy with your grade if you're just going to leave those points on the table. Some insights into how I think. Now, the exams, there's 150 points on each exam. We'll have an exam after every 4 modules. So the first exam will cover modules 1 through 4, 4 through 8, 8 through 12, 150 points each. Those exams, in my experiences, have separated the A's from the B's and the B's from the C's. The first exam will be mostly review. Your prerequisites will have covered most of the accounting that's on the first exam. Second exam gets really tough really fast. By the time we get to module 5, we're going pretty deep into some of the more technical aspects of the accounting. This class gets hard, and as much as I will try to make these lectures interesting, they're pretty dry. So my apologies in advance when we get to lease accounting and some of those other modules. Exam number 3, by the time we get to exam number 3, we're starting to dovetail into the financial statement analysis part of this class. We'll do forecasting, we'll do discounted cash flow analysis, we'll do absolute, relative, comparable multiples, and we'll triangulate in on an ultimate stock price valuation report for your research report, which is 300 points. Now, those 300 points, I also think of those as available to you, meaning you have the opportunity to get all of those points, although that's a little bit harder, because if you want to work ahead and submit that research project by week 12, I will grade it and give it back to you and tell you what you need to do to get the remainder of the points. So it's kind of like the homework. You can do it as many times as you want to do it, but the research project is huge. You won't have time to do it more than twice. And in the history of this class, I've only had 5 or 6 people take me up on the opportunity to turn that research report in early, because it's just such a monster report. Everybody puts it off until the final 3 weeks, and that's how the class was designed. We did away with the comprehensive final in this class, so you all would have the time to do that research report in the final 3 weeks. So lots more work to do there. And together with that written report, there's a recorded presentation of that research report. nothing more than just to give you some practice with your verbal skills, your presentation skills. The block school wants everybody graduating from a block school to be able to stand up and represent their thoughts and ideas and be great graduates of block school. So we try to add that in. In years past, we've done that live up in front of the class. But I changed it a few years ago and I found out that it works a lot better for students and works a lot better for anybody that has public speaking anxiety. I will let you record it now. So that gives you the final week of class to do nothing more than those research points. And if you can record that and get it into me, then you'll get those points. That research report, the recorded version, is basically an A pass fail. You do it, you get an A. Same way with the proxy assignment. Let's talk about that now. Okay, tonight's homework. Read module 1, view the e-lectures. The e-lectures are right over here on our homework module. Return to course. Let's see here. I pointed out where the homework was. If you click down below, we have the text, e-lectures for each of the learning objectives.
We will consider learning objective number 4, which is to assess business operations within the context of a competitive environment.
This is just such a great compliment to what we're talking about in class. It affords me the opportunity to really focus on the text material that is more technical in nature. So when we show up, module 1 is a 73-point PowerPoint presentation, 73-page PowerPoint presentation. And I went through this afternoon trying to refresh my memory, and I highlighted 6 or 8 slides that I intend to speak on tonight, which leaves 60 slides that I'm not even going to speak on. That's all supported by these e-lectures. And I'm purposely not going to speak on them because if you don't know what a income statement is, well, then that's probably best. If you don't know what an income statement is, you need to get help in this class sooner rather than later. And that has happened. That's one of the common failings, is somebody's a little weak in the accounting side. And that happens when it's been 2 or 3 years since you first took your accounting prerequisite class. So if that is you, get help sooner rather than later. That's how students get behind, and that becomes a problem. Okay, tonight's homework. Read module 1, view the e-lectures and guided examples, and then find a 3x5 info card, and on that info card, put a color picture, your name, your preferred name, hometown, major, graduation date, desired career track, and something memorable. This 3x5 card is my effort to get to know you all, and I will fail at this effort miserably, but I will capture 1 or 2 names by the time we get to the end of the semester, and I'll ask for your forgiveness in advance. But if I can get to know some of you, then this class will go a little bit better, and it helps for me to try to identify what your goals are and what you hope to get out of this class. And I'll write down on the back of the card what company that you're working on. And if I see Campbell Soup in the news, I'll flag it and send it to you throughout the semester. And so have that to me by next week. And then the homework is out here on the My Business Courses website. Every week we'll have 10 points worth of homework. And then by the time we meet again, we're going to have week 2. The homework due is read module 2, view the e-lectures and guided examples. And then we have the proxy analysis. So let's say, anybody already select the company? What do you select? Procter & Gamble. So P&G, right? So what you want to do is Procter & Gamble Investor Relations. You could go to the SEC website, but I like to come out here to the Investor Relations website to start with, because, and be mindful of this, Whenever you go to a company's investor relations website, you're gonna find great materials. You're probably gonna find their SEC filings, but what you're also going to get is the version of their company that they want the world to see. You're getting the absolute best foot forward, so to speak. If there's any dirt to be found on this company, you're gonna have to look elsewhere because they're not gonna lead with that. So the Investors Relations website is a great place to go, find information, find SEC filings, find investor presentations that will fast track you with regard to the story that management wants you to know about their company, how they're positioning their company to the world. Just keep in mind the source. You would find those right here under presentations. This is one of the best places to start. So you have presentations, email link. You would want to type in your email here so that you're on the distribution list. I was going to click on a presentation if I saw it. Looks like their last earnings call is on here. They have past events. Here we go. The Procter & Gamble company at the Morgan Stanley Global Consumer and Retail Conference. Procter & Gamble Investor Day from November 21st, 2004. Click on that. So now you have the Investor Day presentation that you can click on. And boom, you have, okay, this is just gold right here. Looks like you're gonna have 80 pages of what management wants you to know about Procter & Gamble. So that we're all familiar with Tide detergent, but Procter & Gamble has another 100 lines that you're probably not as familiar with. There it is. Look at that. Let's see what they got there. Procter & Gamble. It's been a while since I looked at Procter & Gamble. They have Pampers, Bounty, Tide, Dawn, Cascade, Gain. Any brands on here that surprise you? Pepto-Bismol. I never would have guessed that P&G was Pepto-Bismol. Oral-B, Vicks, Gillette, SK2. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is great. All right, that's, in addition, once you're out here, you're going to see financial reporting. They have press releases, annual reports, financial highlights, SEC filings. You can find the proxy there. Might also be able to find it under shareholder resources. I don't see a link. So we're going to have to go out to SEC filings. Now, what you're looking for as the proxy, let's see. It's usually submitted with the annual report. The annual report has not been submitted yet for 2025. If they have a calendar fiscal year, then the 2024 or 2023 financial report would have been submitted probably around March or April of 2024. So we have to scroll down a little bit. Oh, there it is. That's it. They actually give you a drop-down menu to search from. So I can search for the proxy specifically. And here's the code. The filing type is DEF-A14. That's the code that you want to look for. The proxy statement is right here on the second link. And then there's an additional proxy statement materials. So you're going to want to click on both of those. Let's look at a PDF version. And here it is. So this is what I want you to read and report back on. And it's pretty simple. There's a lot of information in this proxy statement, but you're going to get the points for this assignment if you can tell me what your management teams get paid and what that incentive-based comp is linked to. So is it linked to earnings per share, share price, return on invested capital? Tell me those two numbers. Elaborate a little bit, because a lot of times it won't be as simple as being linked to earnings per share. There will be 4 or 5 different metrics that you're going to have to keep track of. That's the proxy side. And I would encourage you, as soon as you possibly can, to begin to accumulate all of the other source documents that you'll need to complete a full research report. So that would be that presentation that I had pulled up just a minute ago, your annual report, quarterly earnings filings. There'll be a lot more to come with that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to be able to come to some conclusion about whether or not we would do business with this company's management team. Do we hold these people to be of high esteem? Do we want them managing all our capital? Would we go into business with these people? Because that's exactly what you're doing when you buy a share of a company. You're going into business with the management team, and it's your job as a shareholder to be able to have some voting interest, some say so about how they get paid. Do you agree with the way they're being paid? And if the answer to that question is no, then we don't want to buy the stock. Okay, in addition to how they get paid, I have salary on here, I have incentive comp, options, grants, restricted units, warrants. That's basically all comp. And then sweetheart deals. So conflicts of interest. That's one of the more interesting parts of the proxy, because companies are required to report any conflicts of interest that they have. So I was doing work on this real estate investment trust based out of Canada called Leisure World, and it was a community of senior living. So they probably owned 100 different senior living facilities across Canada and the United States. And the proxy disclosed two conflicts of interest that I thought were very interesting. One for sure, I might be getting my wires crossed a little bit. This might have been another company, but anyway, the conflict of interest that I'm recalling was the CEO paying his son's consulting firm to decorate and pick out artwork for their office. And the fee paid to his son's consulting firm was several $100,000. That sounds like a pretty sweet gig to me, to go pick out artwork for your dad's office and bill a couple $100,000. So if you see something like that, point it out to the class, would you? That type of stuff happens all the time. Here's another one that's a little bit more subtle. This one I am sure was Leisure World. And you see this happen all the time. One of the easiest ways to get yourself paid in the world of corporate finance is to grow your business through merger and acquisition. And merger and acquisition, if you take a careful study of shareholder value created before a merger and after a merger, all of the academic research would support the conclusion that the broad number of M&A deals do not create shareholder value, which begs the question, why are companies paying so much to pursue mergers and acquisitions? One of the conclusions that you might draw is that it gets management teams paid. Because if you're managing a company that's $10 million in revenue, and you merge with another company that's $10 million in revenue, well, now you're managing a company that's $20 million in revenue. And you can go to the shareholders meeting or the board of directors and say, hey, all of my peers that are managing similar sized companies are making X dollars in salary. The bigger the company is, the more the management teams typically get paid. So one of the best ways to raise your salary is to engage in merger and acquisition activity, which is exactly what this company Leisure World had been doing. And the management team decided they need to be making more money. So they appealed to the board and they say, we need a compensation committee to do some work on how much we should be getting paid. And the compensation committee said, okay, great. Well, we should hire a third-party consultant. So they went out, hired a third-party consultant, and in the proxy, they disclosed the conflict of interest because they had hired a third-party consultant and paid that third-party consultant $50,000 to decide how the management team should get paid. The consultant was the same group that did their audit. So like Ernst & Young, Deloitte & Touche, all these big four accounting, Price Waterhouse, they all have consulting arms too, right? Well, guess what the fee on the audit was? Several $million. Okay, so now imagine you're the consulting firm, you're getting a several $million check to do the audit every year. What are the chances you're going to come back to this company and tell the management team that hires you to do the audit that you're making $2 million on? What are the chances you're going to turn right around and tell them that they're underpaid? Virtually zero, which I thought was one of the most subtle disclosures of a conflict of interest I had ever seen. And it was just the biggest sell signal to me as an analyst, putting our capital to work on behalf of our investors that I had seen in a long time. And I got another dozen stories just like that one to share with you, but that's why we start with the proxy, because we want to begin immediately to come to some assessment about the management teams, how they're paid, and then we're going to take an eagle-eyed approach to the accounting for the next 10 weeks and see if there's any shenanigans going on. Okay, so that's our first 2 weeks of homework. We will just kind of proceed apace. Week 3, week 4, week 5, we start knocking off each of these modules. I'll lecture a little bit, supplemented by guided examples through the workbook. Every week there's 10 points in homework, and then we get to week 5 and we're going to have our first exam. I'll talk about that more later. This syllabus is color-coded. You can see week 1, week 2, they're both white. By the time we get to week 3, that's color-coded blue. So anything in blue, anything highlighted in blue, I'm going to lean solely on our YouTube recorded lectures. So because I'm caught up in real job and lots of travel, we don't meet but every other week in this room. So we'll have a cadence just like that for the next 16 weeks. We usually go off a week, on a week. Everything color-coded is from a YouTube lecture. And then by the time we get to week 12, it's nothing left to do but concentrate on that research report. Okay, that's a quick overview of the syllabus. This is all being recorded, so you can come back and look at it anytime you like. Let's do Canvas. Look at Canvas. Questions? Yes, sir? You do not come to class on blue weeks. And I'll send out an example, a reminder through the announcements page for Canvas. Homework, so homework class starts. Week 2, like that proxy exam. Yeah, 2 weeks from now, it'll be due. And if you get it to me 3 weeks from now, you'll get the same grade. I don't know how to say it. It's really a false due date, but if that's another one of the indicators that I look for. If we get to the end of the semester and I look and see that you turned your proxy in last week, like, well, okay, fine. I'm not going to ding you for any points, but don't come asking me for any favors or a letter of recommendation after class. So yeah, another question. You do have to buy it. They'll bill you right through the site. Yeah. Okay, quick overview of Canvas. There's a homework discussion board out here. I've had limited success with this. If you get stuck on a problem, try that. If somebody else is stuck on a problem, let's try to help each other out to the extent that we can. The main one is this company selection forum, which I mentioned a few minutes ago. After you go look at the list of dividend aristocrats, pick out whichever one you want to look at, come back here, and Sherwin-Williams was the first to go. Uh-oh, we got a duplicate already. So Mary, how do I say this name? Montserrat? Did I say it right? You're kind. I'll try harder. Mary, you got to repick. Okay. So Joe took Hormel. Levi took Cisco. Okay, you guys, you're off and running. We got Lowe's, General Dynamics, Cardinal Health, McDonald's, Caterpillar, Scott. Perfect. Okay, syllabus is out here. Here's our announcements page. I don't have anything out here yet, but I'll try to throw some stuff out here as we go through the semester. Okay, modules. There's a whole bunch of resources out here. Okay, proxy analysis, corporate government terminology. There's just a little bit more about what's expected from that proxy analysis. Here's the solutions manual I was talking about. Our text is now version 7. So right here, if you click on this zip file, you're going to get the answers to every question and every module that comes with this textbook. Look up the question or module that you happen to be stuck on. You'll get a guided sample that won't be the same numbers, but at least similar enough that you should be able to figure it out. If you come to me and you ask me a question about one of the homework assignments, the first question you're going to get in return is, did you look at the solutions manual? And I can't tell you how many times the answer to that question has been no. And then I say, well, go look at the solutions manual and then problem solve. Okay, research project. This is 300 points. Don't get overwhelmed just yet about the research project because there's a lot out here. But one of the first things I would ask you to look at is this Qualcomm report. This is an A+ paper. So if you come out here, I put this out here. This is one of the better papers that has ever been submitted in this class. It adheres to the guidelines that I'm going to require everybody in this class to adhere to, primarily that I want the report to look like this. It's got to adhere to these sections. It needs to have a profile on the left-hand side. The right-hand side needs to be investment highlights. Then I want a description of the company's moat, its mispricing, its mark, and we'll talk a lot more about that. That's the cover page. And then we have an executive summary that follows that. The executive summary is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 20 pages long. And this is your hardest hitting, most salient version of why or why not you think this is the greatest buy, or this company's run by a bunch of crooks and you should stay away. Tell me what you think. And that is broken down by investment thesis. And then I want an expanded description of the company's management team. And I'm going to ask you to grade it. Give me an ABC letter grade for their management team. Is this an A+ management team? Is this a B- management team? Tell me why you think that. Then I want the same thing for a company's moat. Moat is the competitive advantage. Obviously, I'm trying to get everything to start with an M here when we say management, moat, mispricing, and mark. Moat is the company's competitive advantage. I want to know what is their competitive advantage, which is the how and the why they will be able to compound capital at greater than average cost of capital into the future. And I want to know if it's sustainable. And then I want you to put a letter grade on that. Then I want you to do the same thing for a company's mispricing or its valuation. Is this company fairly priced? Is it at a bargain? Is it overpriced? This is discounted cash flow type stuff. And then lastly, I'm going to ask you about a company's mark. So in this day and age, you hear a lot about ESG, environmental, social, governance. That's basically what mark is. Why are you proud to be associated with this company? Or why are you not proud to be associated with this company? What are they doing for the world that's any good whatsoever? And then that's the executive summary, and that dovetails into an appendix. And the appendix is a 40 to 80 page addendum or appendix that goes through module by module. So you'll have this chunked out in 16 different sections that coincide with each of the modules we're looking at in this class. And you're going to break down your company's accounting and let me know if there are any issues or if you basically gets a clear checkup with regard to all the different forms of accounting. So tonight's module is Porter's 5 forces, competitive analysis, SWOT, so on and so forth. You would shove all that stuff into the module 1 appendix and then promote anything in that module 1 appendix that's particularly germane and particularly meaningful to your research project. You take that information and promote it up to your executive summary as relevant. Okay. Can you all use artificial intelligence? Right. I see a couple of heads nodding, a couple of heads like, I don't know, you tell me. The answer to that question is absolutely you can use artificial intelligence, and I'm going to be disappointed if you don't. So what I want to see, let's just escape out of here. We're going to come over here. Hide that. Okay. Now we're going to come over here to Chat GPT, and we're going to say, please function as a certified financial analyst and help me produce a SWOT analysis of Sherwin-Williams. Who picked Sherwin-Williams first? Oh, you actually did. Oh, you got a timestamp. Okay. So that's a notice to whoever else was out there with a subsequent timestamp. FYI. Okay. And boom, we got a SWOT analysis. Look at that. This baby's just going. So now all of a sudden 80 pages doesn't seem so daunting. What does seem daunting is that this can be complete gibberish. Your job as the analyst is to say, okay, great, I have a starting point. Now I have to use this as a template and cross-reference everything that I've just been told against sources that I can really trust, like the company's SEC filing, like other analyst reports that we're going to be able to download from FactSet, like IBES filings that detail a company's competition, so on and so forth. There's nothing wrong with using a little Chat GPT to get you started. And I would encourage you to do so because I think that's just the nature of our world at this point. I use it every day, but I'm always very purposeful about making sure that I get the true source documentation. And one of the best ways that I've seen to do that is, so now we're going back and forth with Chat GPT here. Let's see, where's my dialog box? Okay, great. Great. Can you give me the source documentation? That's spelled wrong, but ChatGPT will figure it out. Okay, so it gave me one, gave me a couple. So now we have annual reports, SEC filings. So there's 2 links I can follow there and begin. It also said industry research reports. So reports from market research firms like IBIS World, Statista, or MarketLine. We have access to IBIS World through the UMKC Miller-Nichols library, and how to get out there is on the resources video posted to our YouTube site. So I'll show you later in the semester, not tonight, but if you want to learn more about that, you can. Okay, that's an overview of the research report. Okay, so that's syllabus. We were on Canvas. I think that's pretty much all you need to know from Canvas. Solutions manual, research project, templates are out there, old sample reports, all of the PowerPoint files that I'm going to be sharing in class out there. Okay, this one's interesting. Practice tests. The 6th edition is almost identical to the 7th edition, which we're on, which was almost identical to the 5th edition. So you have all the practice tests, the complete test bank for the 6th edition is out there. And if someone will remind me to check, I suspect that I have the 7th test bank and just haven't posted it yet. So remind me, I'll check, and if I have it, I'll post it out here. So all the test questions come from the test bank. So you literally have every question that's going to be on the test. Now you'll get, if you double click on that, you're going to get a zip file that's 80 megs and you'll get overwhelmed, but you do have all the questions that are going to be on the test. So all of the information's at your fingertips there. Other resources out here, these are exactly that, other resources. I wouldn't expect you to go too deep here. Okay. Okay, I've left 15 minutes for module 1, which is fine because it's mostly a review. Before I lecture on the handful of slides I wanted to hit on tonight, what other questions can I ask for you? Okay, I have a request. When it comes to questions, please ask them in the group format. One of my pet peeves is answering questions after class. And I know I seem like a jerk when I say that. And I seem like a jerk because you all have no idea how many of the questions that I get that are redundant. I mean, most of the questions that you all have are because I forgot to tell you in class. So when you ask me in class, it gives me the opportunity to share that information with everybody else. And if you need some special accommodation that's unique to you, ask that in group format too, because everybody else deserves to know what kind of special accommodations I might be giving to one student or another student. That's available to the whole class if I'm going to give it to anyone. So a couple questions. Thank you. I'm back here was first. Well, that sounds like fun. I'd love to hear more about that. Yeah, just follow the recordings. They'll be posted out there to the YouTube site. The link is in the syllabus. Just go out there. I'm going to try to keep them live on Zoom. So if you're available, you can log into a Zoom class. I'm always available via email or if you need to get a hold of me during phone, but you can, if you decide by the 4th lecture that I'm just not doing it for you, you can opt out of the lectures altogether, learn the material through the recorded lectures that come with the book, keep pace through the modules, take the tests. I mean, again, you can accomplish the goal of this class in a lot of different ways. The goal of this class is to impart the knowledge. And if you get the knowledge, I don't care how you get it. So, yeah. I have some travel coming up that it works very well if you have travel coming up with that's going to coincide with the first exam because it's also administered by the My Business Courses website. So what I'm going to do is open a window of time that allows everybody in class to log into the site and click Take Exam, which sounds ridiculous because that makes it open book, right? I don't even monitor. You can take this from anywhere in the world. So because it's open book, how do you police that? The way that you police that is by making it time. So you have 2 hours to take a 40-question multiple choice exam. And here's where students mess up. They think to themselves, well, it's open book, it's open note. I can take it anytime I want. And they rely on that. And if that's your test taking strategy, then I can tell you now you're going to run out of time. You have 2 hours gives you approximately enough time to look up 40% of the questions. You need to just know 60% of the questions. You need to know the answers. If you don't know the answers, you're going to run out of time and fail the test. So don't get fooled by the open book, open note nature of it. Now, the other way students think to themselves is, okay, great, we'll tag team. Don't do that. Don't do that either, because the authors of the text are smart enough to make the questions dynamic, which means although the question looks like the same question, reads right like the same question, has the same names and faces, the numbers are going to be different, and the multiple choice answers are going to be jumbled up. So don't try to tag team it because that'll get you in trouble too.
I'm gonna need it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if you're gonna be in Europe, try the connection, and if it doesn't work for you, let me know, and then I'll open a window when you get back. Yeah. So yeah, there's a question coming in from Zoom. What was that again?
Could it be possible we can't hear the questions that the students there are asking? Would it be possible to just repeat the question before you give an answer?
Yes, yes. So
All
if you
right.
could, if you could hear me talking, you could probably guess what those questions were. I will try to make a note of repeating the question for everybody on the Zoom call from here on out. Thank you for that.
So once we, for the research paper, once we finish like module one, we have the information we need to, begin writing that portion of the appendix to the research paper, like, right now.
Yes,
Should we wait?
yes, no, the sooner you get started, the better. Yeah. The question was, once we're done with module one, will we have the information that we need to complete the appendix one, module one section of the paper? And I said, yes, absolutely. So most of the people in class use the Verne-Cushenberry test taking strategy, which is they don't start the paper until week 12 or 13. And I mentally remind myself, this will be around, this will be the second week in April. I'll be walking in and I'll be saying, okay, this is the freak out lecture. We haven't talked about the research project in over a month and everybody's distracted with other stuff because we're all living our lives. And we come face to face with an 80-page paper that we have to write. People start freaking out. Oh, yes.
Are we able to submit the paper, like, for your input as we complete the session, or do we have to submit the whole thing?
You got to submit the whole thing for me to grade. That's the offer. Yeah. Anything over that, I wouldn't be able to commit to. Okay, interrupt me as we go. Great questions. Okay, let me touch on just a handful of slides in module one. The first of which was slide number 6 here. This is a basic overview of the whole class. If you take this whole class and put it on one slide, this is the slide. So step number 1 for your research project, this is basically the whole research project. We want to understand the business environment and the accounting information. That's modules 1 and 2 and appendix B. So module 1, accounting, competitive environment. And then you'll see step number 2, adjust and assess the financial information and accounting information. These are the accounting shenanigans, that little game of follow the penny, all the estimates and assumptions that go into the world of accounting. That's what this class is about. How do we understand those? How do we make adjustments for those? And how do we make some determination about whether or not they're being properly used to state and represent the true and fundamental underlying economic reality of the business? Because accounting and the true underlying economic reality are not the same thing. And it's our job as analysts to recognize when the accounting is a good representation of that and when it's not a good representation of that. And when it's not a good representation of that, we need to know how to adjust the accounting so that we can make better use out of the numbers. So finance is not at all concerned with rules-based accounting. Finance is concerned with making decisions that will benefit shareholders in the future, or management teams in the future, or the bank in the future. So we need to know how accounting works so that we can really use those numbers. And we need to know how and when those numbers get distorted. That's step number 2, and that takes us from module 3 to module 10. Module 11, we're going to look at forecasting financial information, and then step 4, how do we assimilate all that financial information ultimately down to a stock price, an implicit valuation that we can compare to where Procter & Gamble or Sherwin-Williams or McDonald's is trading today. So if we know McDonald's is trading at $112 a share, how do we take 16 weeks of work and come to some assessment about whether that $112 a share is an accurate number? Maybe it should be $150 a share. Maybe it should be $75 a share. Okay, and then the second learning objectives takes us through all of the financial statements, SEC disclosures. I already pulled up Procter & Gamble's investor relations website where you can find all of the SEC disclosures. You can also find them on sec.com. This is a nice little graphic that should serve as a reminder for how the financial statements are supposed to work together Accountants call that articulating. Financial statements are supposed to articulate, and our authors do a really good job of showing how those financial statements articulate over time. So you'll get better depictions of that as we move forward. Then our authors move into the income statement, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, so on and so forth. And in the fourth learning objective, they start to segue into analyzing the business environment. So this is the Porter's value chain, Porter's 5 forces, and SWOT analysis. Our authors give us some nice pictures. So because I use ChatGPT every day, I don't know to what level of familiarity you all are at using that, but you can take this slideshow. You can take this this slide that I have right now, upload it to ChatGPT and say, give me back a similar graphical depiction of the Porter's value chain framework for Procter & Gamble. And you'll get back this for your company. Artificial intelligence is just so powerful. So part of your assignment for Module 1 is to take these concepts and ask artificial intelligence to give you back that information presented in this format so that you can better understand. And then that only kicks off the work that you're going to need to do, because now you have to source it and internalize it. But what a great place to start. So this is the value chain. As you look at a company like McDonald's or Walmart or Sherwin-Williams, you're going to recognize that a lot of the value that they provide to their end customers is embedded in one of these blue boxes across the bottom. Walmart, I would argue, a lot of that value is brought in logistics and scale. A company like Apple, a lot of that value is in brain. Company like Sherwin-Williams or Harley-Davidson might be in servicing. And it's important to know that so that you can identify a company's competitive advantages. And a lot of times those competitive advantages break down in a manner that's consistent with what Michael Porter called his 5 forces. I'm hoping that this is review material for most of you, but he identified industry competition, the power of buyers, the power of suppliers, threats of substitution, and other products. Okay, Module 1 segues into a few very basic valuation models: return on equity, return on assets. I don't talk about them tonight because we will talk about return on equity in Module 3. We'll do a complete ratio breakdown in Module 3. In the back of Module 1, though, Learning Objective 8 shows how to access the SEC's website. So if you need a reminder on how to get out there and navigate it, that's in there. 6:44, we got a minute left. What else do you need to know before we kick off this semester? All right, well, take a stab at getting set up on my business course website. Try the homework for Module 1. Pick out a company, post it to the company selection forum, and download the proxy. And I will see you next Tuesday night. Thanks all. Thanks, Zoom crew.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. Good.